Let's talk about hygiene, my brothers. Now, most grown men understand physical hygiene: brushing your teeth, washing your body, you might trim your fingernails, and you wash your clothes. Why? Because neglect of your body will produce filth and decay. Well, today I want to talk about something I call spiritual hygiene. And let me be clear from the very beginning, I'm not promoting or endorsing any specific religion. I'm not here to tell you to be Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, Buddhist, practice Ifa, or anything else. That's not my place. That's a personal decision. What I'm talking about are universal components that strengthen the inner life of a man, regardless of the tradition he chooses. So let's define the concept. What is spiritual hygiene? Spiritual hygiene is the intentional maintenance of your inner life, your values, your conscience, your sense of meaning, your alignment with something higher than your impulses and appetites. Just like physical hygiene removes dirt, spiritual hygiene removes or guards against things like the buildup of ego, bitterness, envy or jealousy, confusion, and laziness. If you don't bathe, your body's gonna stink. If you don't practice spiritual hygiene, your character stinks, and people can smell it. So here are the 5 essential elements of good spiritual hygiene. Number 1, spiritual study. Every disciplined spiritual life includes some element of study. You can't grow spiritually on vibes alone. Spiritual study in this sense means things like reading scriptures from various holy books, studying philosophy, learning your religious tradition more deeply, listening to lectures that deal with spirituality, exploring other faith systems, or engaging in what we call wisdom literature, proverbs and things of that nature, wise sayings. And you can read things like the Bible, the Quran, the Tao Te Ching, the Bhagavad Gita, the Husia, and there's many more. Not to convert anybody, but to understand the architecture of moral and spiritual thought by people who thought and wrote about it thousands of years before we were born. Study like this does 3 things. It expands your perspective, it humbles your ego, and it sharpens your discernment or your wisdom. So if ignorance is like spiritual plaque, spiritual study is like floss. Element number 2, curated spiritual sound, i.e. music or poetry. Every man needs a body of music or poetry that centers him. I'm not talking about hype music. I'm not talking about getting ready to go out music, not ego music, not any type of music that inflames your lust, your rage, or your vanity. I'm talking about sound that slows your breathing, expands your thinking, grounds your emotions, reminds you of something eternal, something bigger than yourself. Now, this could be gospel music, classical music, jazz, sacred chants, instrumentals, spoken word poetry. You got a whole lot to choose from. But just understand that whatever you choose, sound bypasses the analytical brain and it goes straight to your nervous system. That means your playlist is either regulating you or deregulating you. So develop a spiritual sound library, because sometimes too much is going on in your mind for reading, but music can take you right back to your center. Element 3, a spiritual code. This, family, is critical. Study without a code is nothing but intellectual entertainment. Men, powerful men, purpose-driven men, live by a code, a spiritual code, a set of principles that govern how you think and act and treat others. This is like your internal constitution. Your code answers questions like, what do I believe about truth? What do I believe about responsibility? How do I define and execute integrity? What's my responsibility to my family, to my community? What does self-mastery entail or require from me? How do I treat other people? How do I act when I'm upset and in disagreement? Now, for some, this code may be rooted in things like the 10 Commandments. For others, it might be rooted in the 42 negative confessions of Mayat that comes from ancient Kemet, also known as Egypt. But It must be clear, and it must be things you subscribe to and you commit to. Because a man without a code is emotionally negotiable. A man with a code is internally anchored. And here's the discipline. You don't just write the code. You don't just memorize the code. You live the code. You embody the code. You become the code. Spiritual hygiene requires alignment between what you believe or say you believe and your actions and thoughts. Otherwise, you become internally divided. You become a joke. Element 4, daily spiritual exercise. Just like your body requires exercise to stay fit, so does your spirit. A daily spiritual exercise integrates everything we've just discussed up to this point. So this might include prayer, meditation, journaling, affirmations and visualization exercises, a gratitude exercise, reading scripture, poetry, or book passages and reflecting on the meanings of them. The key word is daily. Not when you feel like it, not when you're in a good mood, not when life falls apart and you're upset and you tight. Daily, no matter what's going on. Because spiritual hygiene is preventative, not just reactive. You don't brush your teeth when you get cavities. You brush your teeth to prevent getting cavities, right? You don't just pray when crisis hits. Hopefully you're praying so that you won't have certain crises in your life. In the same way, daily spiritual practice and exercise builds emotional regulation, moral clarity, patience, strength, self-awareness, and resilience, family. Trust me. So I would say, 5 to maybe 15 minutes a day can reset your entire nervous system. And I would say, of course, to do this in the morning, to start your day off in a proper tone. So when you do the spiritual devotion, this exercise in the morning, it's starting your day off on the right note. And how you start your day a lot of times dictates how your day will go. And this is very important. Last but not least, element 5, developing a spiritual community or sense of accountability. If you're too isolated, you become disconnected. Even the most disciplined man benefits from occasional dialogue with other people, right? So spiritual hygiene requires fellowship, mentorship, dialogue with like-minded, like-valued people, some level of accountability, some level of correction. Now, there's many ways to get that. Some would go to the mosque, some would go to a church, some would go to a temple, some would get this in a study group, a brotherhood circle. The point here is that you need spaces where you can meet with other brothers and sisters like yourself, trying to become spiritually grounded, share your experiences, and learn from each other and teach each other. An empowered man needs spaces where his ideas are heard, where his ideas are sharpened, where his ego, when necessary, might be challenged, or when his ideas are made better because people expose his blind spots. Iron sharpens iron. Left alone, your ego becomes its own prophet. But a community of people who are honest, who won't coddle you and flatter you and tell you what you want to hear, but love you, will gently keep you calibrated. Now let's bring it all together. Let's review real quick. Good spiritual hygiene includes spiritual study, centering music or poetry, a clear spiritual code, a daily spiritual exercise, community, and accountability. And when practiced together, brothers, hear me well, these elements will lower your blood pressure, will get rid of your headaches, reduce your pain, make you smile more and be lighter and not take every single thing so seriously. It will increase your discernment or your wisdom. It will reduce your tendency to be impulsive and hostile and angry. It'll stabilize your emotions. It'll strengthen your integrity. It'll clarify your purpose. And guess what? You won't even get sick as much. And when you do, you'll bounce back from it quicker. And here's the deeper points. Spiritual hygiene is not about appearing holy, trying to be perfect, or trying to one-up any other man or woman. It's really a personal thing. It's about you working to be internally whole. It's about removing your resentment. It's about correcting your course before you face negative consequences of bad decisions. It's about building a life that is not driven by appetite and vanity and lust. So, if you take showers daily, but you never cleanse your envy, you trim your beard weekly, but never trim your ego, you wash your hands every time you come in the house, but you never wash your motives, you're only half clean. Spiritual hygiene really is a form of maintenance and cleansing ourselves and trying to see ourselves in our wholeness, our complexity. And remember, the unseen, that which is invisible, governs that which is visible. Wise OG out. According to YouTube, 93% of you are watching and enjoying my videos, but not subscribing. Let's turn that around. If you appreciate what I'm sharing, subscribe and join the Wise OG family.